Okay, so what I thought was I should add a fill, extra fill in the appearance palette for my stem as well, because it's kind of bland and plain. So I was going back over this and I'll just add a fill to that, and I'll put a pattern in there for that as well, just to give it a little bit more of a deeper look, different look. So there's a pattern right there. One thing I wanted to show was you can actually adjust the pattern without changing the stem itself. So of course we can go with the rotate tool and we can rotate the whole stem, but you can also rotate the um, pattern only. So if I go to object at the top, transform, and rotate, you'll see I have objects and patterns that I can check. So if I uncheck object and check pattern and check preview, I can type in whatever number I want, for example 90 degrees, and it will rotate that pattern. And as I type that in, you can see when I hit tab, the pattern rotates. So that just allows you can also hit the up and down keys and you can watch it rotate and kind of get it gradually placed where you want it to be. So that's a nice little feature as well. Of course you can go back to the transparency palette with that as well and play around with the transparency. Another thing you can do with the transparency is you can set the transparency much like in Photoshop, where it's an overlay or where it's a color change. So this is much like Photoshop layers selection. You can set it up to darken, so you can play around with those selection tools as well. Just depends on what exactly you want this overlaying fill to do. Now I've got my pear pretty much drawn as much as I want to do to it, but I also do want to add some shading, some dark spots to this as well. Let me zoom out to my whole picture, and you see all I've got is really well, there's three pieces. There's that little piece I drew in there, there's the pear, and there is the stem. If I select all three of those, I can go object, group, and what group does, I selected all three objects, hit object group, and that allows me, when I choose the regular black selection tool, it will allow me to move it around as one piece, so I don't have to click over and over to grab all three pieces. So now everything is tied together as one piece. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to let's edit copy and edit paste. So that pasted another pear right here, and I can go to the transform tool. That is the tool with the little arrow and some anchor points in it, and that will allow me to adjust this second pear that I drew to whatever shape, size, position, wherever I want it to be. And of course you can use also the black arrow or selection tool to do most of this. That tool will be a little bit more forgiving, give you a little bit more control. So now I've got two pairs, one's on top of the other. Of course, this is going to be the shaded part that I just adjusted, so I'm going to go Object, Arrange, Send to Back, so that it is behind that pair. And I kind of have the reflection there. You may like it like that, I don't know. But what I want it to actually be is a shadow. So my light's coming from this side, my shadow is going to be back here. So at this point, I can change the colors pretty quickly by clicking on Fill. You see a question mark there because it's a bunch of colors, not just one. But if I choose colors, you can see it kind of gets darker in there kind of changes some of the colors around. Now it doesn't change everything because I have changed my appearance. If I go window appearance, I'll pull that back up and you see and I've actually grouped all this together, so I'm going to have to ungroup it in order for this to work. So I'm going to go object ungroup so that it all ungroups. This is my first pair, and I'm actually going to delete I want to actually delete that red. I'll have to delete the opacity first. I'll delete the red, and then I can change the color of that second fill to whatever color I want, and I can do the same for the other stem as well. Let me get that color. Yeah. So you see there, I have pretty quickly shaded everything. And the other trick I'm going to do is the thing I did before with the little circle up here. I'm going to click on the stem and the pair. I might group them again just to keep them together from now on. And I'm going to go Effect, Style, Effect Blur, Gaussian Blur. So that's Effect Blur underneath Photoshop Effect, Gaussian Blur. And then I'm going to choose an amount to blur this. I'll just leave it at 20, and you'll see what happens. Hopefully it'll be kind of a blurred shadow, like the pear has a shadow in the background. And of course you can adjust that however you wish.